Hey y'all, welcome to Deadly Delicious, where we serve up killer eats alongside even deadlier true crime stories. This week's story is an Easter story. Now, usually when we think about Easter, we think about pastel colors, your little cute Easter outfits, family gatherings, Easter egg hunts, and let's not forget family drama. But back in Hamilton, Ohio on Easter Sunday, it went from an awkward Easter dinner to a full blown horror movie straight out of a Stephen King's novel. You see, on April 30th, 1975, Hamilton, Ohio saw a scene they had never seen before. The story starts with 41 years old. He was 41-year-old James Rupert, right? He lived with his mama. He was unemployed. And he had a brother called Leonard. Now, James and Leonard, they were kind of like people who knew them said they were night and day. They were vastly different. But he had a brother, Leonard, and then, of course, his mother, which their father had died years before. And James hated his brother. He truly hated his brother. People who knew them said that James and his brother never really got along because his brother was everything he was not. His brother was charming and outgoing. James was quiet and kind of withdrawn. He was an introvert. His brother had a career. He was an engineer at GE, General Electric. James at the time was unemployed. He was a draft man, right? He worked in an architectural firm and he was good at drafting designs, but he really couldn't keep a job for a long time. And so he was constantly unemployed. And at that point, he had been let go from his job, like I think a month or several weeks before. Now, before the murder, neighbors said that James had developed a pattern, right? He would sleep until 4 o'clock and then he would go to the bar and he would drink and he would come back home around 2 in the morning. That's what they were saying. But all of this stemmed from his family. James, during the police report, the police interview, James felt that his family had let him down. They really didn't like him. He felt alienated from them. He felt like his family were out to get him. Okay, especially his mother and his brother. According to James, his mother always considered him as a disappointment. Well, kind of compare him to his brother Leonard, right? And she made a statement constantly that she wished that he was a girl. I guess she wanted a daughter. That's what James said. So they always had this. He had this little resentment for his family because he felt his mother always felt that his brother was better than him and she really wanted a girl and she wished that he had been born a girl. Okay, so back on Easter Sunday, April 30th, 1975, James followed his usual pattern. He went to the bar. He went to the bar and then he came back home. The same time he always comes back home, like around 4 o'clock, James came back to the house. Well, at that time, his brother and his brother's family were already at the mom's house. The kids were on the lawn Easter hunting, Easter egg hunting, and, just having general family fun. James, according to reports, he got at the house. He went and talked to his brother Leonard to talk about a couple of stocks. And then he decided he was going to go upstairs. And he left the family downstairs and he went upstairs. He stayed upstairs for a couple of hours, according to reports. Around 6 o'clock, James came downstairs. When he came down, what the family didn't know, that James had chose violence at this point. Because according to the interview, when they interviewed him, he said he was just sick of everything. He was done with the family. He was done with the comparison to his more successful brother, Leonard. He was done with his mother wishing he had been born a girl. He was just done with all the family drama. All this insecurities and hatred that has simmered in him for years just came to a head. It came to a boil that day. He said he was done with everything. So he came downstairs with a rifle and 3 handguns. Now, at first, nobody was alarmed because James always had handguns around. And then he came down and then he told, I guess they said his brother asked him what he was doing. He said he was going to go target practice. What the family didn't know, that they were the targets, right? And James opened fire. He started shooting. He was very methodical. He shot everybody. Police report says everybody was shot in their head except his brother's wife, Alma. Okay, that's the only person. He shot her in the chest. Now, we'll go back a little bit as far as James and his brother Leonard, right? James already hated his brother that much. He was kind of jealous of his brother. Besides feeling like his brother and his mother were always conspiring against him, he had this deep hatred and jealousy of his brother. Okay, his brother was successful, he was not. His brother had a job, he didn't. Most importantly, his brother had a family and a beautiful wife that James could never have hoped that he would ever get. James never thought he could get married. What made it even worse, going back, at the age of 27, James found out that he was impotent. And so it just made him even angrier with his mom, I guess. In his mind, he felt like his mom had done this to him because she had always openly said she wished he was a girl. That also caused him to really hate them and become paranoid and stuff. And so he started shooting his family. Police report says there were bodies in 3 places. There were bodies in the kitchen, in the living room, and the hallway. And he was very methodical. He shot everybody in their head. Everybody got multiple shots just to ensure that they were dead. But once again, except Alma. She was shot one time in the chest. That kind of tells me probably he kind of sort of liked her. Or, I don't know. But he killed her children, though. He shot them multiple times. But he only shot Alma one time in the chest. Right? And then after he shot them, James just sat down. He waited. He waited till about, so he opened fire like estimated around 6 o'clock, right? But he didn't call the police until about 9:30 at night. Now, in the interim, according to reports, he just sat there. I guess sat there and watched them die. I don't know what he was doing. The police don't even know what he was doing. He really didn't say. He just said, he blocked out and he just sat there. But anyway, so he sat there and he waited. But the most important part about this, and what is even kind of amazing, not one neighbor heard anything. They didn't hear James shooting anybody. And that goes back to the kind of neighborhood he lived in. There was a big Catholic church in the neighborhood, the church that his family attended. And so at 6 o'clock every day, the church bell will ring. And so the police kind of assumed that because the church bell was ringing, and it was loud. You all know how church bells are. It was really loud. So nobody heard. The neighbors didn't hear anything at all. And James fired 44 shots, according to police report. And not one neighbor heard anything of the 44 shots. Back of the 44 shots, 40 hit the target. So he was a good marksman. He really didn't miss. He emptied 44 bullets into his family, all 11 members. So that was Leonard, who is his brother, his mother, Billy, people call her Charity also, and then Leonard's wife, Alma, and then all of Leonard's kids. Now, Leonard had 8 kids, right? The kids he had Leonard Jr., he was 17, Michael was 16, Thomas was 15, Carol was 13, Anne was 12, David was 11, Theresa was 9, and the baby, which is John, he was 4. Okay, so he shot his brother 8 kids, ranging in ages from 17 to 4. Shot everybody. And then he sat and waited till about 9:30, between 9:30 and 9:50. That's when he called the police. The police walked into a scene that is still considered one of America's deadliest holiday massacre. It still gives people chill, right? He called the police, and then he met them at the door. Yeah, James met the police at the door. And then when the police walked in, they just saw blood and broken bodies everywhere. According to police reports, it was so bloody that the blood had started to soak through the baseboard, and it was dripping into the basement. That's how much blood he wasted that day. It was really eerie. I don't even know how to describe it. According to police report, the carnage was so intense, one of the police officers had to go outside, kind of threw up, and then took a breather before he could come back into the house. The police found the guns. They were full guns, and he had it right by the refrigerator in the kitchen. Right, so right away, of course, James was booked. They booked him for murder, and they took him to jail. Okay, and then, of course, they had to have a trial for him. And so the first trial was, it was a trial by 3 judges, right? And of course, the 3 judges, they found him guilty. The defense said that James was not guilty, by reason of insanity. James was the first that told him anyway, before he even could come up with that defense while the cops were at the house. He told him he wasn't guilty because he was insane. He said he had contemplated committing suicide, but committing suicide was a mortal sin. And so murder was better because murder was not a mortal sin, yeah. So he killed everybody. So the first trial was by a 3-panel judge. 2 found him guilty, 1 of them not guilty by reason of insanity. And James appealed that. He said he was under the understanding that it had to be 3 judges that found him guilty. And so he had a second trial by jury, right? They brought a bunch of psychiatrists, and we all know psychiatrists, they can never agree. Some said he was insane, some said he was not. So he got a second trial. He was found guilty by his peer, which is the jury, 12 men, and he was sentenced to 11 consecutive life sentences, right? So he went to jail. Then in 1982, there was a third trial because they believed that he was really insane and they wanted a third trial for him. So he was granted his third trial. He was found guilty. Get this, y'all. He was found guilty of murdering his mother and his brother, but not guilty by reason of insanity by murdering the brother's wife and the 8 kids. And so James, he was found guilty now. So he had a life sentence. So he had 2 life sentences, and that's why he served. He was in jail for that time, and then he stayed there until he died in 2022 at the age of 88. So that is the story of James Rupert, the Easter Sunday massacre. If y'all know any, go ahead and comment if you know about the story. Go ahead and comment in the comment section. Thank you, and see you next week.